In this world, most people do not fear death. They fear insignificance. Death only ends life once, but insignificance destroys them every single day. That is why they desperately carve their existence into the eyes of others. A man posts his achievements not because he is proud, but because he fears being forgotten. A woman cries loudly not because the pain is unbearable, but because she wishes someone would witness it. Even anger is often a performance. Humans rarely express emotions honestly. Most emotions are signals sent outward, hoping for reactions in return. How laughable. A bird sings because it is alive. Humans speak because they want confirmation that they matter. That is the difference. Once you understand this, society becomes painfully transparent. Every conversation hides hunger. Every crowd hides loneliness. Every act of confidence hides fear. People call themselves independent while being emotionally enslaved by strangers' opinions. One compliment brightens their world. One criticism poisons their sleep. Such creatures speak of freedom. No, they are puppets dancing on invisible strings. The cruelest prison has no walls. It is the constant need to be acknowledged. And society strengthens this sickness daily. From childhood, people are taught to perform. Smile correctly, speak correctly, dress correctly, behave correctly. Slowly, they stop asking, what am I truly becoming? Instead, they ask, how am I being perceived? That single shift destroys countless lives. Because perception is smoke, reality is stone. Weak people spend years polishing appearances while their inner world rots quietly beneath the surface. Like golden coffins carrying empty corpses. The heavens do not care how admired you are. The seasons still change. The rivers still flow. The grave still waits. Nature has always been indifferent to human vanity. Yet mortals endlessly chase recognition from other mortals equally lost and temporary. Sometimes I watch crowds from afar and feel as though I am observing insects crawling over fallen fruit. Fighting, competing, displaying themselves desperately for attention that will vanish with time. Even their ambitions are shallow. They do not wish to become great. They wish to appear great. That is why most people abandon difficult paths. Real growth happens in darkness. No applause, no witnesses, no rewards. Only repetition, only discipline, only silent suffering. Weak people cannot endure invisible progress. If nobody notices their efforts immediately, they become discouraged, pathetic. Does the bamboo complain while growing underground for years before emerging? No, nature understands patience better than humanity ever will. But humans have become addicted to instant emotional rewards. They would rather receive 10 seconds of attention than spend 10 years building true strength. This is why society worships entertainers more than wise men. Noise attracts crowds faster than substance. A clown screaming in the marketplace gains more attention than a philosopher sitting quietly beneath a tree. But attention is not respect. Remember that carefully. The crowd cheers today and stones tomorrow. Public opinion changes faster than autumn wind. Only fools build their identity upon something so unstable. Fang Yuan never desired approval because he understood a terrifying truth. The moment you seek validation from the world, you hand the world a knife pointed toward your heart. If others control your self-worth, they control your emotions. If they control your emotions, they control your actions. And once your actions are controlled, your life no longer belongs to you. True freedom begins when praise and insult become equally meaningless. That is the mentality ordinary people cannot comprehend. They think detachment is cruelty. No, detachment is clarity. A clear lake reflects the moon perfectly because it remains still. But disturbed waters reflect nothing. Likewise, a mind addicted to attention can never see reality clearly. It constantly bends itself toward external reactions. That is why weak people lose themselves in relationships. They become whatever receives affection. If softness gains approval, they become soft. If arrogance gains approval, they become arrogant. They possess no true self, only masks changing with circumstances, like leaves drifting wherever the wind commands. How tragic. A powerful person moves differently. Even in complete isolation, his direction remains unchanged, because his identity is rooted internally, not inside crowds, not inside praise, not inside temporary admiration. A mountain does not lower itself because birds refuse to land upon it, and a dangerous man does not shrink simply because others fail to understand him. Understanding from others is unnecessary. Most people cannot even understand themselves. Why seek validation from the blind? The older I become, the more amusing humanity appears. People spend their youth trying desperately to be accepted, only to spend adulthood exhausted by the false image they created. The mask eventually becomes heavier than the face beneath it. That is why so many people secretly feel empty. Their entire existence was built for observation rather than truth. But truth cannot be escaped forever. One day silence arrives for everyone. No crowds, no applause, no distractions, only themselves. And in that moment, most people finally realize something horrifying. They spent their entire lives being seen by others, without ever truly knowing themselves. The autumn moon hangs silently above the mountains. The spring breeze eventually fades into winter frost. Whether loved or hated, praised or forgotten, all human noise disappears with time. When you stand at the end of your life and look back, the opinions that once controlled you will appear smaller than dust. Nothing remains. Not fame, not applause, not admiration. Only the path you walked. That is why wise people stop chasing attention. Instead, they cultivate depth, quietly, like roots growing beneath frozen earth. Invisible, patient, dangerous. And perhaps that is the true difference between weak people and powerful people. Weak people wish to be noticed. Powerful people wish to become undeniable. Late at night, when the world finally becomes silent, human beings reveal their true nature. Not during daylight, not inside crowds, not while performing for society, but in silence. That is where masks begin to crack. A weak person cannot endure those hours. The moment noise disappears, something inside them begins to ache. So they reach outward immediately, toward conversations, toward attention, toward meaningless stimulation. Anything to avoid sitting alone with their own thoughts. Because deep inside, they already know there is nothing there. No purpose, no foundation, no true self. Only scattered emotions borrowed from the world around them. That is why attention feels like survival to them. Without it, they begin collapsing inward. Humans call this loneliness. But loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of meaning. A man surrounded by crowds can still feel empty. A man standing alone beneath heaven can still feel complete. The difference lies within. Weak people build their existence like houses made of paper. One insult tears them apart. One rejection destroys their confidence. One moment of neglect fills them with despair, because their worth was never truly theirs. It was rented from other people's opinions, and borrowed things are always temporary. The world is filled with such people. They smile only when admired. They work only when praised. They dream only when supported. The moment applause disappears, their spirit withers like grass beneath winter frost. Pathetic. A truly dangerous person walks through both praise and hatred with the same expression, calm, because he understands something ordinary people never will. The crowd has no wisdom. Crowds worship today and condemn tomorrow. They build idols with one hand and destroy them with the other. Seeking permanent approval from humanity is like trying to hold water within your fingers. Impossible. Yet most people spend their entire lives attempting exactly that. The heavens must find this amusing. Mortals sacrificing peace for temporary attention from other mortals equally lost in existence. Once I watched falling snow cover an entire mountain range. Everything became silent. The rivers froze. The forest stood still. Even the wind seemed to disappear. And in that silence, I understood something clearly. Nature never seeks recognition. The moon does not ask to be admired. The ocean does not explain its depth. The tiger does not announce its danger before hunting. Only humans exhaust themselves trying to convince the world of their value. The strong simply exist, and their existence alone creates pressure. That is why silence frightens people. Silence contains presence. A calm man entering a room quietly often terrifies others more than a loud man screaming for dominance. Because noise is usually compensation. Still water reflects the moon perfectly. Disturbed water reflects nothing. Likewise, a mind desperate for attention can never achieve clarity. Its thoughts constantly bend toward public reaction. What will they think? Will they admire me? Will they remember me? Such thoughts slowly poison the spirit. Fang Yuan never walked such a path. That is why he appeared monstrous to ordinary people. He did not kneel before emotions society considered sacred. Praise could not intoxicate him. Hatred could not weaken him. Loneliness could not break him. Because his path was rooted beyond public opinion. Most people are terrified of becoming isolated. But isolation is where true power matures. A sword is forged in fire and solitude, not inside festivals. The eagle flies highest alone, and the deepest rivers move silently beneath the earth where nobody sees them. Weak people crave visibility because they mistake being seen for being valuable. But visibility means nothing. Even fools attract crowds. Even corpses gather attention. The world notices many things. Very few things deserve respect. Real value requires depth. Depth requires suffering, patience, discipline, sacrifice. And these are things weak people avoid. They desire rewards without transformation, attention without substance, recognition without effort, like starving ghosts, endlessly trying to fill a hole without bottom. But the hunger never leaves. Because no amount of external attention can repair internal emptiness. Only self-mastery can do that. Only purpose can do that. Only walking through silence long enough to confront yourself honestly can do that. Most people will never reach this stage. They will continue chasing reactions until old age. Still performing, still pretending, still afraid of disappearing. And eventually time erases them anyway. That is the cruel humor of existence. The world forgets almost everyone. The names people once screamed eventually fade into dust, carried by the wind. The spring sun becomes autumn rain. The morning blossoms become winter snow. Nothing remains unchanged. When you finally stand at the edge of life and look backward, the moments you desperately sought attention for will appear meaningless. The arguments, the applause, the validation, all of it dissolves like smoke before the evening wind. And perhaps then you will finally understand. Peace was never hidden inside the eyes of others. It was hidden within detachment, within silence, within becoming so complete inside yourself that even loneliness loses the power to wound you. The autumn wind brushed against my robe once more as the yellow leaf drifted farther into the distant mountains. This time I did not chase it. I simply watched quietly, because I finally understood. Everything in this world changes form before disappearing. Feelings, people, dreams, even suffering. The weak cry while trying to hold the seasons still. The wise simply walk forward with the wind. And as the sun slowly disappeared beyond the blue mountains, I looked back upon the long road behind me. Spring flowers had already withered. Autumn moons had already faded. Morning dew had long turned into winter snow. Success and failure, love and hatred, praise and rejection. After enough time, all of them become equally silent. In the end, nothing truly remained beside me except the path itself. And perhaps that was freedom. To walk through a transient world without begging anything to stay. To let the leaves fall without sorrow. To let the seasons pass without fear. To stand beneath the endless heavens alone. Calm as still water. Cold as winter moonlight. and continue forward without needing the world to notice at all. On a cold night, I once saw a moth desperately throwing itself toward a dying flame. Again and again, its wings were already burning, yet it still refused to leave the light. At first, I thought the moth was chasing warmth. Later, I understood. It was terrified of the darkness. Humans are no different. Weak people do not seek attention because they are happy. They seek it because silence forces them to meet themselves. And most people cannot endure their own company. So they spend their lives running toward noise, praise, messages, crowds, validation. Anything to escape the emptiness quietly waiting within them. A strong man can sit alone beneath the night sky and feel peace. A weak man sits alone for 5 minutes and begins reaching for distraction like a starving animal. Because solitude reveals truth, and truth is merciless. The world believes attention is love. No, attention is often nothing more than hunger disguised as affection. Observe beggars in the street of human emotions. Some beg with laughter, some beg you with sadness, some beg with fake confidence, but all are asking the same question. Please notice me so I can feel real for a moment. Pathetic. The mountain does not ask the traveler to admire it. The ocean does not scream for recognition. The moon does not chase the eyes of mankind. Only the empty are loud. Once, during spring, I walked beneath an ancient tree and noticed a single green leaf swaying quietly among countless branches. It was insignificant to the world, yet strangely beautiful to me. When autumn arrived, I returned searching for that same leaf, but I could not find it. So I believed it had disappeared. Humans are amusing creatures. They think something is gone simply because it no longer appears in the form they remember. I searched the branches with melancholy in my heart, missing the green leaf I once admired. Yet I never realized the truth. The leaf had never left. Its color had merely changed. The green became yellow. Spring became autumn. Warmth became distance. When the autumn wind blew, the yellow leaf drifted quietly beside me, circling around my path as though accompanying my journey. It remained near me the entire time. But because I was obsessed with the memory of what it once was, I failed to recognize what it had become. Humans behave the same way with attention. They do not seek love itself. They seek confirmation that they still matter. Because deep inside, weak people fear becoming invisible. And invisibility terrifies those who possess no inner substance. That is why they constantly perform. Even their sadness becomes theater. Even their kindness becomes strategy. Even their existence becomes a stage play for strangers. A weak person enters a room asking, "Do they see me?" A dangerous person enters a room asking nothing at all. That difference creates kings and slaves. The lion never announces himself before entering the forest, but monkeys scream endlessly from the trees. Noise is the weapon of insecure creatures. Silence belongs to those who understand power. Look carefully at society. The people who crave attention the most are often those who have built the least within themselves. No discipline, no purpose, no internal world, only endless hunger. So they decorate themselves with reactions from others. A compliment becomes their sunlight. An insult becomes their storm. Their emotions swing like fragile leaves in the wind of public opinion. How pitiful. The crowd smiles at them today and forgets them tomorrow. Yet they sacrifice their peace chasing this temporary illusion. The sun sets above blue mountains. The spring wind eventually becomes autumn frost. Morning arrives, delicate like silk threads, and night descends cold like snow. Everything passes. Praise passes. Fame passes. Beauty passes. Even human affection changes form with time. So why build your soul upon something so unstable? Only fools anchor their worth inside the hearts of others. A wise man builds quietly within himself. That is why solitude is unbearable for weak people. Silence strips away performance. No audience, no applause, no distractions, only themselves. And when they finally face that emptiness, they panic. So they run back toward noise, toward crowds, toward meaningless conversations, toward endless attention, anything to avoid hearing the hollow echo inside their own spirit. But powerful people are different. A dangerous man can walk alone for years without needing anyone to confirm his existence, because his purpose is not dependent on witnesses. The river flows whether people admire it or not. The moon shines whether mankind looks upward or not. And true strength behaves the same way. Quiet, detached, unshaken. Fang Yuan understood this deeply. The world called him cold because he could not be controlled through emotional bait. If praise cannot tempt you, people lose power over you. If rejection cannot wound you, society loses its chains. Freedom begins there, not in gaining attention, but in no longer needing it. That is why the masses fear detached people. A man addicted to validation is predictable. Offer him applause, and he obeys. Threaten him with rejection, and he kneels. But a man who desires nothing from the crowd becomes difficult to manipulate, and the world fears people it cannot control. Never forget this. The more desperately someone seeks attention, the emptier they usually are within. Because truly fulfilled people are too busy building their lives to constantly announce themselves. The tree growing deepest underground makes the least noise above it. Real growth is silent. Weak people cannot endure this silence. They want immediate recognition, immediate praise, immediate proof that they matter. But heaven and earth do not reward impatience. Winter does not beg spring to arrive faster. The moon does not complain while hidden behind clouds. Only humans demand constant reassurance from the world. And because of this weakness, they remain spiritually fragile their entire lives. Listen carefully. The need for attention is not confidence. It is starvation. A starving soul begging strangers to temporarily fill the emptiness it refuses to confront alone. But no amount of praise can save a hollow spirit. Only purpose can do that. Only discipline. Only solitude. Only self-mastery. One day, if you walk far enough from human noise, you will understand something terrifying. Peace was never found in attention. It was found in detachment. And perhaps that is why the strongest people often appear cold. Not because they hate humanity, but because they no longer need humanity to validate their existence. The autumn leaf danced beside me before disappearing into the distant wind. And in that moment, I finally understood. Weak people beg the world to notice them. Powerful people become so complete within themselves that even silence cannot diminish their presence.